Hey there, Stanton here from Algotrading. Welcome to our next episode of building a Crypto EA from scratch for the Bybit MT5 platform. In this lesson, lesson 5, we are going to be adding moving averages to our Crypto EA. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so if you are up to date with our lessons, you would have we have installed our MT5 starter template. If you do not have the starter template, please join our Telegram group. The link is down below in the description. You just go to our set files group. It's on the welcome message when you join our Telegram group, or just ask in the Telegram group. We'll point you towards the downloads. Download the starter template, watch the previous videos and catch up to where we are. If you're also a lazy coder and you don't actually want to go through all the videos and you just want to be at the point where we are at the end of this video, you could also down the lesson 5 download, and it will all of this code will be available to you. So just join our Telegram group and all the downloads will be available there. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is adding the moving averages to our Crypto EA. So if you're up to where we are now, you'll see we have our starter template, and the next thing we're going to be doing is adding a enumerator. And let me explain to you what an enumerator is. I've already done the code for this lesson, so I'm just going to copy and paste to make it a lot quicker for the lesson, so the video doesn't go on too long. So I'm going to copy the enumerator section. And you could actually just pause the video if you actually want to type it out, or if you want to download the code, whatever you want to do. So what is an enumerator? Enumerator is essentially a list. It's so when you have input parameters, you want to say to your parameter, I want a choice of options here. I either want to do, in the case of the moving average, we either want to do a trend where the moving average is above or the slow moving average, or the fast moving average is above or below the slow moving average, or we want to do a price trend. So we want to say, is the current price above the 200-day moving average or below the 200-day moving average, or whatever you set it to. So enum is basically a list of options you are giving to your input parameters. So as you can see, I created an enum called enum NMA trade type, and the two options I'm giving is the trend. So you'll write trend here, and then this is the description, the green with the green comment. That is the description that will be displayed in your drop-down box. And we have price trend. So you could choose between those two options in your input parameters. Okay, so now I'm going to copy the input parameters for the moving average. And as you can see, I've laid it out very nicely for you guys, so it's very easy to understand where all the code does. So this is your input parameters section. Like you could see, I even put in input parameters. This is where that goes. So let's go through some of the moving average input parameters. You can watch the other videos, how to create groups for your parameters and things like that. But right now we are at where we are, and check out the other videos for more information. Okay, so we got this is how we're using our enum trade type. So either we could do trend, which is going to be the default value, or we could do price trend. So we could say price trend will be the default value. So it remembers those values, but for now let's just do trend. Okay, so we've got our slow moving average input parameters. So we've got the period, so it's a 200-day, 300-day, 50-day moving average. We've got our shift. This is just if you want to shift the values back, but I don't ever use shift, but I've just left it in for you guys to use, or to optimize. Maybe you might get better results by using a shift, but I don't use shift, but I'll just leave it in there anyway, because it's one of the inputs that you put in when you actually create the moving average indicator in your Expert Advisor. Okay, now we've got our method. So now these are things called built-in enums. So there's a lot of built-in enums for MQL5. You could see we are using the method. So in this case, we're using the enum MA method. So you don't have to actually build a custom enum like I did up here. You use the built-in MQL5 method. So enum. So this one is the MA method. So as you could see here, I use the EMA, but you could say like mode equals, so for a simple one, you'll use the simple moving average, or you could use EMA, or there's a couple of different modes that you could use, but I like using the EMA. But this allows you to set what type of moving average you want. Okay, and then there's another built-in enum which we use quite a bit is the enum applied price. Now the enum applied price says what price do you want to use when calculating your moving average. So your open price, your close price, your whatever you want to do, your low, your high. I always use close price, but you could actually have the option here, so you could say price open or price medium or type price weighted. So there's a lot of options here that you could choose which price you actually want to apply to your moving average. So I'm just going to set it back to price close. So these are the input parameters for the slow moving average. So slow moving average and fast moving average, let me explain quickly. Slow moving average is your bigger periods, so your 200s, your 150s, your 300s. Your fast moving average is your slower periods, so your faster periods, so it's your 50, your 25, your 5, things like that. So the slower, the lower you make your period, the faster or the more movement that moving average will have. Okay, so again, we're going to be using the mode EMA. We're going to apply it to the price close, and then this is another enum here that applies to both of these input parameters, and that is your time frame. What time frame do you want your moving average to run on? So you have various options. You could run it on the current time frame, so that is whatever the time frame is that you added to the chart, or you could select I want to run on the 5-minute chart, but I want to check the moving averages on the 2-hour chart, and that is where you'll set this. So there's another built-in enum called enum timeframes, and then you have a choice of options. You could have period, day 1, H2, M2, whatever you want, but I'm just going to set it to period current for now. Okay, so that is your time frames. Okay, so that is it. We've added our input parameters for our moving averages. So now the next thing is, now we need to add a handle. And you can see I've labeled it extremely well for you, so you know exactly where to add all these different things. So the next thing is we need to now add a handle. Now what is a handle? So a handle is essentially after you create an instance of your moving average, you would reference that handle if you want to use the moving average elsewhere in the code. So a lot of people, they don't create the handles, they actually just create an instance within the onTick function, which is not the best way of doing it, because that means you instantiate in your moving average every single time you do a tick, which is going to make your EA run longer. So the best way to do or declaring or instantiating your moving average is to declare it when the EA starts for the first time. You're not going to be changing your parameters while your EA is running. So if you want to do that, change your parameters while the actual EA is running, you would have to declare it or instantiate the moving average each time, or create the moving average indicator each time. So we don't want to do that. We want to create it first and then just reference it every time we need it. Okay, so we're going to create the handles. I'm just going to copy the code. So we're going to create a handle for the fast moving average and the slow moving average. So we're just going to paste that in. All we're doing here is we're declaring the variable. So this variable can be used globally throughout all of your code. So it's not closed. It's not closed with inside one function. You could use this globally, and you could check my video on the parameters and inputs on how to do that. Okay, so the next thing now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to, so it says here, create the indicator handles here. So essentially what we're going to do now, we're going to create the moving average indicator so it could be used with inside our EA. So let me go to that. And look, it's not necessary to do it the way I'm doing it, but if you want to be professional create professional expert advisors that you could sell in the place, I mean the MQL5 store. When you upload your MT5 Expert Advisor up to the MQL5 store, it performs rigorous tests on it. It tries to break it essentially. And if you don't have these checks and balances in place, you will never get your EA onto the MQL5 store, because it will, if there's any errors that are not handled by your code, it will just spit it out and say, sorry, validation failed, and you won't be able to get your EA onto the store. So following these steps, what I'm doing now and creating these sort of error handling helps you to be able to get more professional expert advisors that don't break when you add them to charts, and also that you could eventually sell them at a later stage. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm creating sorry, I forgot to copy a section of it, so let me just put that section. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're creating our handles for our expert advisors. So remember, we declared the variable above. It's just an integer. We declared the handle over there. So now what we're doing is, in this little function here, IMA, if you want to know what any of the functions do, you could just click on the function, you press, I think you press F1, or you could just right click and say go to, yeah, F1, go to help. And it will tell you all about how to use and instantiate the moving average indicator. So I'm not going to go into this now, but if you want to find out how and what all of these things do, you could just double click on it and you press F1. Okay, so when we instantiate the moving average, we need to pass a couple of variables to it. So the first thing is, what is the symbol that you're running the moving average on? And this symbol.name just means that you're running it on the symbol that is the chart that you're currently connected to. So if you opened up a BTC's chart and you load the EA onto the chart, it will then use the symbol of whatever chart it is. Okay, so the next parameter is the time frame, and you can see we're able to set that because of the input parameters above. So we're using our input parameter to pass into that. The period, so this is for the 200, 150, whatever it is. Then we go to our next variable, the shift, which we don't use. What method we want to use, the EMA, the simple moving average, the weighted MMA, whatever it is, and what price are we applying it to, and in our case we're applying it to the close price. Okay, so now what we do, we say if it is equals invalid handle, then just print out some errors. You could actually just get away with just doing this, but like I said, if there's any errors that are not handled in your code, MT5 will throw it out, or MQL5 will throw it out when you put the code up live for validation. Okay, so that is the slow moving average, and then we did the exact same thing with the slow moving average, the fast moving average. So I'm not going to go through all of these again, because in the interest of time, I want to get through this as quickly as possible. Okay, so here we have our we have created our slow moving average indicator, and we've created our fast moving average indicator. So that's all we need to do. Now the next thing is, so all of these things in here, the tick function, you don't really need to worry about. As I said in the previous videos, the starter template handles all of that. All what I want you guys to focus on is, how do you create your moving average, or how do you create your indicators, how do you instantiate it, how do you handle the errors, and then create your trading logic. So it makes it very, very, very much easier to use by starting with a professional template than trying to like navigate all the stuff by yourself. I've done videos about the starter template, so you can go through those videos, but I'm not going to get into that now. We are purely working on the adding of the moving averages. So you can see this function here, this check signal. Now check signal, we're either going to return a buy signal or a sell signal. So essentially in this check signal function, we need to create code that will either return a buy signal or a sell signal. So now we've already instantiated our moving averages. We have them. We could work with them now. We don't need to write any more code to deal with the moving averages. So now let's start writing our coding logic, our trading logic. So let's go into that. Oh, this was one thing I forgot, the indicator release. Let's go put that in quickly. So if you go see the expert deinitialization function. So this releases the handlers. So what do I mean by that? So when you create a handle or create a indicator with inside your code, now that stores it in memory. And now once you close your expert advisor or you remove it from your chart, you actually need to remove all of that logic from memory, because what happens is your memory becomes clogged. Your EAs will start running slowly. They'll become jumpy. Your backtesting will run slower, because all of this sort of information will be stored in the memory. So what you want to do, you want to release that. So if you stop backtesting or you remove it from a chart or something like that, you actually want that data to be released from memory, and that's what this does. So it releases the indicator and it removes it from the memory. Okay, now we get to the fun part, the trading logic. So let's go into our check signal function. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to declare two variables, or they're called properties. A variable is something you pass into it. You could declare these two variables, which are going to set at some point. We're going to say MA buy and MA sell. So is the moving average giving a buy signal, or is the moving average giving a sell signal? If we set that to true, then we will go into a trade, or we will say the moving average signal is a buy. What are the other signals? So we need to declare two variables here called MA buy and MA sell. Now what we want to do is we want to actually so let me explain what we are doing here. Okay, so we are declaring two arrays. Now what happens is that we need to access that data somewhere. So we need to put it into a list, because we need to, for instance, I normally count back 3 moving averages. So the 0, or the current moving average of the current candle, is 0. The moving average before that, so on the close of on the open of the previous one, you have a moving average value that is 1, and the value before that is 2. So you want to put that into something that you could use, or something that you could access that data. So what you declare is two arrays. Now array, I think I've discussed it in previous videos, but array basically is something that stores the data for you. So I'm creating two arrays, the moving average fast and the moving average slow. And now this is a very important section. You need to understand what array set as series does. So when you get the information, you're getting 3 values. You're getting current moving average, the previous moving average, and the one before that. Now you need to put that in order. So you need to know that if you're working with the previous moving average, it's the correct value. So set array set a series, puts those moving average values in the correct order. That's essentially what it does. So you know that if I'm working with value 1, which is the previous value, it is the correct value. Okay, the next thing we're doing now is I've written a function called iGetArray, which actually gets an array of your moving average. So it goes to our handle that we declared earlier. We've got our start position, which we've set as 0. So we want to get from the current position, and we want to count back 3. And we're going to now take that array data and we're going to put it into the slow moving average array. That's all we're doing. And the reason why I do this is to check, do we have all the data in the array? Because when you start up for the EA for the first time, you've only got the current candle. So it waits, the EA waits until you have enough data in that array to be able to manage its calculations. Again, it's another error handling function, that because what will happen is if you put it onto a chart and you start doing the calculations, it will say array out of bounds. You'll get an array out of bounds error, and again you will fail the MQL5 pass test or the validation test. So I like to put this sort of like error handling in here just to say, that you know that we could pass that test. Okay, so now what we've got here is our calculate all positions. So this is a function that I've written as well. It basically counts, you know, how many current positions you are in. That's all it really does, because what we want to do is we don't want it to go into a position if there's a ready position. If we are allowing 3 buys and 3 sells, we don't want to have 4 sells. So it counts the current open positions, and then so you could check, you know, if you only want to have 1 position open at a time, you'll set it as one of the parameters in the top, and so it won't go into another position if you're already in the position. Okay, so now here's the fun part, our trading logic. We have it. There's a nice big comment here, put trading logic here, and this is where you put your trading logic. Okay, so let me copy the trading logic from, yeah. Okay, we'll go through quickly the trading logic, and then we will call it a day. Let me do the style. Okay. All right, so let's go through our trading logic. So if we're using, remember we had that enum at the top. So if we are using the trade type of trend, we want to say, is the previous moving average, the fast moving average, less than the slow moving average? If so, then we have a sell. Is the fast, then we got the converse of that. If the fast, the previous one, is greater than the slow, the previous slow moving average, then we have a buy condition. Very simple. And then we've got the price trend, the other numerator that we had. If it's a price trend, if the rates, which is the current price, the close, is less than the slow moving average, then we have a buy signal, a sell signal. And if the rates, the close of the previous candle, is above the slow moving average, then we have a buy signal. Okay, and then what we need to do now is that we have 2 other variables called good buy and good sell. So if it's a good buy, then the MA buy must be true. So this is a Boolean thing. So what it will do, it will say good buy equals true, then we send a buy signal. If good sell equals true, then we'll send a sell signal. All right, and that is it. So we have added our moving averages to our Expert Advisor. The next video, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be adding, I think I'm going to add 3 indicators to this Crypto EA. Let's make it really cool. So the next video, we are going to be adding the RSI or the MACD, and we'll take it from there. Once we've added the RSI and the MACD, then what we'll do, we'll optimize it to be run on one of our favorite crypto pairs. And then once we optimize it, we'll backtest it and we'll put it live into production. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please join our Telegram channel. We go download all the files. All the prepared lesson files are there too. Also, we are having a massive special on our Expert Advisors, our ready-made Expert Advisors. So right now you could go to our website, the links are down below, and buy 30 EAs for the price of 1. And these EAs come with full source code and everything you need to get started. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you guys soon. Cheers.